think the Egyptians do hate us that much, probably, but the Islamic fundamentalists among them do.
Well, who do you think the majority are in Egypt? If there were a
It didn't
vote,
used
they'd
to
win
be.
tomorrow.
It didn't used to be when the colonial era was there. Before all this incitement occurred through television and other means, and now, you know, I think that if I can be so bold, forgive me. People like Hitler and Mussolini came into being because of the microphone. I mean, without a microphone, Hitler would have been nobody. He couldn't have talked to a huge crowd and had his voice, surround sound and so on.
Gandhi too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And radio and stuff like that. I mean, 50 years before that, he would have been nobody. So now we have a new thing, the internet, and we haven't realized the potential of the internet and you know, all of those kind of things. So I think this incitement is occurring like Al Jazeera and places like that, where they have global television feeds into the Islamic country, and the internet and the global television feeds are being manipulated very cleverly by the extremist Muslim organizations. So now you think that the mass is anti-American. Before, in the colonial era, most countries, what they wanted to be in India or even Egypt was little Englishmen. They wanted to go to Oxford. They wanted to have, you know, a tie. They wanted to look like a British gentleman, you know, and so on and so forth. The same with the French colonies. And so everybody, you know, that was 100 years ago. So we don't realize how quickly these things are changed by the mechanical means. That's my point. So you say, how come they hate us, or in Egypt do they hate us? Oh, 50 years.
Say, how come? I know why.
Yeah, 50 years ago in Egypt, you know, they didn't hate us.
Fair vote tomorrow, it would be the Muslim Brotherhood would take over the country. A fair vote.
Yeah, it's true. Probably true. Probably true. And then there wouldn't be a democracy left.
No.
So that gets back to your thing.
Yeah,
You see, these people, now I know this sounds reactionary and, you know, totally unfair. These people want to use the Western system against itself. They're using the Western dependence of oil against itself, and they're using the Western Bill of Rights against itself. They demand all these rights in France and all these other countries. They all come in and immigrate, etc. And they want to use the election system against itself, like Hitler did. The moment they get power through the election system, which is why I'm not sure you can export democracy, as I said before, to a lot of these countries, like you're saying, is that the moment they come into power, Saddam probably was elected at some point. Chavez in Venezuela is elected. Then he can make America into the evil demon, and he can stay in power forever. Castro was probably elected 50 years ago. Makes America into the evil demon, he can stay in power forever. So that they abolished democracy. So when Bush is trying to say we want to export democracy, that's a noble thought. And I think a bastion of democracy in the Middle East, like Iraq, would have been a grand experiment. But unfortunately, he didn't go in with the power necessary to do it. If he was going to do it, he had to go in with the power necessary to keep public order while the institutions had a chance to grow. The opposition party doesn't want to give him that time, and he doesn't want to put the power in there that is required, so the whole thing is a mess. Anyway, so it would be noble if you could get a democracy. So what you're saying is that they will abolish the rights that you give them. So what is your answer? You take these people out of Guantanamo. He says, I've been here for 5 years. You know, you have no right to hold me anymore. Okay, fine. Leave. The next thing you know, maybe not every one of them, but probably 60–70% of them will be planning how they can come in here for another suicide bombing. So what is the answer? You can't judge what a person's going to do 10 or 15 years from now.
No,
What
but I
answer?
think that
They were caught on the battlefield, theoretically. Maybe they weren't. Maybe we rounded them up in peaceful homes in Pakistan. I don't know. They were supposedly caught on the battlefield. I have to take the military's word for that. What would you do with them?
well, I think the first thing that I would say is if we had a lot more international support, this kind of task would be a lot easier. But
There won't be international support because these people want to see America go down the tubes.
because
France wants American
right,
hegemony
and
ended.
I mean, is it because there are a bunch of heathens over there, or because
No,
they think we
it's
are?
France. It's nothing. France has always been politically manipulative from the Revolutionary War period till now.
Right.
First, they fought a war against England for control of the American colonies. They encouraged the American Indians to fight against the British and bring in scalps and all that kind of stuff. But let me finish. Then they lost. Now wait, hold on. Then they started manipulating the American side and supported us, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. They've always been manipulative. They don't do it because they believe in anything.
You don't think we did stuff like that? I mean, expansionism and war is war. And my answer to you, if I can finish, is we would have a hell of a lot more support internationally if we did a hell of a lot more of what John's talking about, which is humanitarian aid. If we had a Department of Peace as well as a Department of War. If we showed ourselves to be the noble, enlightened, probably best country on the planet in theory.
We did show ourselves that.
Not in my opinion, and maybe we're coming at it from different perspectives since
Well,
we're different ages.
I don't think, I
my
don't want to ask how old you are,
I'm
because that's not
33.
fair. But the point is that you weren't living through the period where America was as
Right.
noble as one could be.
Right, but
I think-
you're not living in the period where you're looking at widespread dystopianism and widespread alienation of our own culture.
I think that,
we grew up in this reality.
Look, under Reagan and Clinton, everyone had a really positive feeling about things. People thought things were really going forward fairly well. Now, one was a Republican, one was a Democrat. That was, and America was being the noble light upon the hill, supposedly, all
That's
this
not really.
kind of rubbish. Okay, but,
That's the story that everybody bought, but
All right,
well,
wait, just hold on.
Rwanda
So,
happen.
when the World Trade Center happened, suddenly we're the evil demons. How can that be? How can it change overnight? That we could be all nice guys up until 9/11 and something, you have to see there's something wrong with the logic that you're saying.
Well, I
We
don't
didn't
think it
suddenly
happened.
become evil after 9/11.
I don't think it happened until after we left Afghanistan, and when we decided to go into Iraq on absolutely no probable cause.
Well, forget that, what you think no probable cause. They went into Iraq, wait a minute, you don't need a cause.
I know you want to forget
No,
it.
no,
but the rest of
no,
us-
no, it's
And
nonsense.
if you want to sell it to us, you got to
No, I don't want to sell it to
that
you.
way.
It's nonsense what you're saying, because
You got to sell us war
they
in a way that
fought
looks like
a,
we
wait,
are
hold on a
noble.
minute, man. They fought a war in the 1990s
For
in
what?
Iraq. Hold on, whether good or bad, I don't care. And they signed a peace treaty, supposedly, a truce that was supposed to be observed. Not one iota of that truce was observed. So what happened was, yes, I agree with you, after 9/11, these guys in Washington made the strategic situation that they should not